Very worrying information coming out of that particular report. Wokista Nyabwa, Lulu Hassan, Charity Wanja, thank you for bringing that report. But the question now is, how is this going to be moved forward? Joining me in studio is Sarah Ochwada, who's a sports lawyer. We're also expecting Barnaba Korir, National Youth Committee Chairman, Athletics Kenya. We're trying to get him online. And he's online right now? Great. Barnaba, thank you so much for talking to us. I know you're in the middle of a meeting and you had to step out for that.
Yes, I was in a meeting, but I have a few minutes to reply to this.
Thank you for giving us those few minutes. Very quickly, it's been several weeks, if not months, Bwana Chairperson, since your investigator submitted the findings of this investigation in light of the startling sexual allegations. What action has been taken by Athletics Kenya on this matter?
Yes, Athletics Kenya has already had discussions with the people who were investigating. When we heard about that issue, we went on the ground with my colleagues to ensure that we got to the bottom of the matter. And the recommendation that we had already discussed as Athletics Kenya. And I think, as far as I know, there's some actions that has already been discussed and taken.
Can you give us specifics of action? Has anyone been reported to the police to invest? You know, what's the way forward? And how are you going to protect those who spoke in those videos? They are now vulnerable.
I don't think there's any big problem on that one. Concerning the findings, we also share the information we had, as I already mentioned, that we want to make sure that our kids are not trained by non-teachers. We want to ensure during the schools only they can go to the camps, but those camps should be in schools, primary schools or secondary schools, and be under the custody of the teachers to make sure that we don't also hear such things. And I think if you go several years again back, we have had those issues and we have taken care of and make sure that everything is put in order so that we protect also our kids.
Okay, Chair Korir, I know it might look like I'm asking you the same question over and over again, but because I'm trying to really understand what message you've sent to those who might want to or who might think of participating in these activities by punishing publicly anyone who your investigator might find guilty. So the question that I keep asking to you is, you know, we are not sure what has happened to these individuals, and so we are not sure if it will serve as a deterrent to others who might be thinking about doing this. We are told this is not the first time it has happened, Chair. We are told it's still happening now. Can Athletics Kenya show us visibly that these are the people we've punished, this is how we've punished them, so that others who might think about doing it stop thinking along those lines?
As I have indicated before, you know, there's always a process, and we want to make sure that punishment is made to the people who have done wrong to the kids.
Okay.
Before, there was action that was taken against some coaches who did probably the same thing, and they were suspended. They were suspended for several years. They are not even back. So, at least Kenya has taken its role in ensuring that they protect our children. And I think the process is going on. And, of course, the Federation does not want to entertain a situation where anybody or anyone is protected or engages in activities that endanger the lives of the kids. So we are always in the forefront, and we have already also engaged other stakeholders like the Ministry of Education. They are aware of those cases, and they are also taking action. But the problem is that we want to ensure, as I said before, that the people who are going to handle these children are also teachers who are accountable to the TSC, they are accountable to the ministry. And we don't want anybody who is not a teacher to handle the young ones, except now the Federation, when they appoint the teams, and of course they'll engage the services of the teachers. So this is the way we have been doing, and the way forward is to ensure that if we find such issues again arising, we are going to take stern action. The Federation will always take stern action. The leadership of the Federation, the President of Athletics Kenya, is very strong against these situations, and I'm sure that he has been also active and participating, and he has visited all these camps. He has gone around to see the camps how the children are doing. So we are aware, and I'm sure that the Federation will ensure our kids are protected. But of course, we want other stakeholders, the government, the Ministry of Education, to come on board and to ensure that we implement the RAPSO's recommendations we have given them.
Is the investigation over?
The investigation is still going on because we want to really get to the bottom of this issue.
Okay.
And of course, there are some other things that have already been done by the president of Athletics Kenya, and the direction he's taking is what we are supporting, so that we make sure that proper investigation, proper punishment is made of the people who are concerned.
Finally, could Kenyans see some arrests happen after your investigations?
You know, Athletics Kenya does not have the prosecutorial arm.
Mm-hmm.
We will only recommend to the Minister of Education so that the Minister of Education can see what they can do.
Okay, so if you feel that there are any that are, if your investigation proves that there are those who are guilty, you'll hand over their names to the Ministry of Education and they then would take the next step?
Absolutely, because they are also aware of what
Okay.
is going on. Yes.
Okay, do you have any cutoffs? Can you say that by June we'll have concluded this matter, by May? What kind of timelines is your team working with?
I think the timelines we have is we want to wrap up everything by June.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We can allow you to get back to your meeting. Asante sana Barnaba Korir, National Youth Committee Chairman, Athletics Kenya. He also heads Nairobi County, the athletics activities that happen here. And thank you for your time. Let me now introduce Sarah for this particular discussion. Sarah, convinced by what you hear Athletics Kenya are doing? Is that sufficient?
I don't think so. Mainly because this is not the first time we're hearing about molestation of young ladies in sports. And athletics is the only one which is in the limelight right now, but it is by no means the only sport which is affected by these kind of conduct between male coaches or male managers against young girls. And I think maybe Athletics Kenya needs to take things a bit more seriously.
You feel that those responses indicated a lack of seriousness?
Well, they need to be a bit more serious.
Okay.
In terms of bringing to book these people who have been alleged abusers for this long. If you can look at how the US gymnastics took to all the allegations that the girls brought against some of their medical...
specifically Coach Larry Nassar.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, if we have one girl who's already brave enough to say, I saw this with my own eyes, they need to have some policemen there other than just the Athletics Kenya investigators.
Okay.
Because that's a criminal offense.
Okay. The fact that a lot of these federations are male-driven, male-led, what impact does that have when women want to speak out, for example?
Yeah, it's very difficult for women to speak out against their male counterparts, mainly because they don't feel like they're brave enough to come against someone who will be in charge of their future, in charge of selection, in charge of getting them to break free of their poverty because of the opportunities that these male people will provide for them. And the sad thing is, most of the parents who would be in a position to speak up against some of these abuses cannot, because they're poor. And poverty is something which prevents people from having the ability to seek justice for themselves. So because they're poor, sexual molestation sometimes is a small price to pay to break them out of that poverty.
So, okay, and that is very unfortunate that you feel like you have to pay this price for you to get the kind of success that you're hoping for.
Exactly.
How do you think, and you've gotten a chance to study overseas, and actually before I get to that question, legally what rights do these minors have? Let's say someone's watching the program and thinking, I've gone through this incident, or I know someone who's gone through that particular incident. They're poor, they can barely make ends meet. What sort of help can they get? How can they begin to raise their voice on this matter?
Yeah, the first thing is report. Okay, not just to your federation, report also to the police. The sad thing about athletics is the main players within athletics are actually the police and the armed forces. So that brings another level of complications for these young girls, because, you know, the same people who are supposed to protect you most likely are the ones who are running the investigations and prosecuting. And so that's something that Kenyans need to take key note of,
Okay.
and promise these young girls that despite you being under someone who is perhaps a member of the police service or the armed forces, does not mean that you will not get justice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's coming to my other question, which is globally, how have other countries, do you think, managed this? You've studied in Spain, you've looked at scenarios in other countries. How do other countries protect their minors?
Yeah, well, it's not just the countries, it's also just the sports fraternity. Most sports regulations have very strict rules about protection of minors, especially if you look at football. There are certain things you cannot do with a minor that you can actually do with someone who has come of age. So there's a lot of protective mechanisms within the sports federations itself. And then from a state level, there's the state laws which protect against minors and defilement and cases of sexual abuse, etc.
Okay.
It's just that in Kenya, maybe this issue has not come to the forefront as much as we would have liked, because I'm surprised Kenyans are not outraged by the amount
I am equally as surprised.
Yeah.
You saw what happened after those tweets leaked about Kenyatta National Hospital.
Yes.
Allegations with no human face behind those allegations.
Yes.
Kenyans went crazy about them.
Exactly.
Here we have people who've spoken anonymously to Citizen TV. They've stated it happened. No word.
Yeah. And it's something that maybe it's part of our Kenyan culture, where girls are constantly being put down and told, just keep quiet and deal with it in your own way. If you even look historically, the women who have done the best in athletics are the ones who are married. And in most cases, they're married off very young. And so the husbands are the ones who are, they are chaperones whenever they're training, whenever they're traveling. But now for young girls, if their parents can't even afford to go with them and travel with them for their meets and to ensure that they're okay within their training camps, then that's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring in Milka Chemos. She's an athletics representative with Athletics Kenya. She's also participated in the sport, 3,000 meter steeplechase champion. Milka Chemos, habari asubuhi.
Salama Mwaura, mambo?
Fiti sana. I'm glad you can hear me loud and clear. I'm sure you watched that story, Running with Hyenas. Let me get your opinion.
Yes, niliwatch. Yeah.
Nipe maoni yako tafadhali.
Okay, in person, kulingana na the story itself, I think it is something which is so sensitive, especially for our girls and as athletics family. So my thinking is that I think that thing was done by last year. So I think...
Yeah, some of the interviews were done last year, yes.
Yes.
So have you had such stories before? As someone who has been an athlete, you've competed for Kenya till the very top. Is this the first time you've had such stories?
Okay, it's not the first time, because I think even before the late, when the late Isaiah was in office, I think one of the coaches was banned for life. And I think this thing has been there, but at least as Athletics Kenya, we are doing something to control it.
What are you doing? Explain to us.
Okay, like for now, you know, Athletics Kenya sio body ya kushtaki, umeona. So the only thing we do is we investigate and then tupeana kwa the authorities, ya kushtaki, like the girl child now. I think the best thing we do is to talk with the education office, the Ministry of Education, ndio wadili na wafuatilie sasa.
Na kwa sasa,
yeah.
Kwa sasa investigation imefika wapi?
Okay, you know, unajua something which is going under investigation, we can't talk about it because we can interfere with it. So it is somewhere and we are working on it.
What sort of changes would you like to see? You've competed for Kenya, and as a lady, I'm sure there are certain challenges you've gone through. Maybe in your experience, what changes would you like to see to ensure that any woman or girl who wants to get involved in sports, especially athletics, is protected moving forward?
Okay, the most important thing is to look at where that girl, where that mahali penye mtu ameanzia the life itself. So someone like me, I can't compare my life with maybe someone else, because for me, I started training when I was married na nilikuwa na mtoto. So kwangu mimi I was mature enough. So the only thing I think that the most important thing that we are supposed to do is at least we have to vet all the camps. We know the people who are managing these athletes, and we must have a woman chaperone there. They're not only having men, so that we can help these young girls and maybe motivating them. It is now our work as athletes, especially female athletes, to help the young girls wajua maisha vile inafaa ikue. So I think that's the most important thing. But most importantly, camps yote ikuwe registered with Athletics Kenya, and camps. All the coaches, all camps. And all the coaches to be registered with Athletics Kenya.
Thank you so much, Milka. As I let you go, finally, what do you think should happen to those found guilty?
Okay, personally, I'm a policewoman, so I never accept anyone mwenye amefanya makosa kama hiyo. That's like defilement. So I think even jailing them for life is better.
Okay. Thank you. You've put across a very strong point, Milka Chemos. Thank you so much for finding time to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Sarah, let me get your final thoughts on this. Your response, Milka, I think, coming out a lot more strongly about what needs to be done. At the end, she says, jail them for life. I think that's a possible solution. What were you thinking as she was sharing?
Well, she mentioned something very significant, that Athletics Kenya actually has the ability to license and show who is licensed to coach or train and where these camps are located. So if they could provide that information to the public, then people will be able to access it and know these are the safe areas to go or take my child to train. Secondly, I think this is just for the MPs who live within the North Rift or even the South Rift areas where all these athletes come from. This is my challenge to you. You have to come up with at least one school within your constituency which can take up these athletes and build them up, especially the girls.
I feel like you should be talking to the camera, not even to me. Go ahead, make that appeal to the MPs in those areas.
So this is my challenge to the MPs within the North Rift and South Rift areas where all these young athletic women come from. You need to identify at least one school within your constituencies, and most probably even a boarding school, which can take them up, absorb them, and train them to a level where they will feel safe and secure and get whatever training that they need. In fact, it's not going to be rocket science, because our CS Matiang'i, before he left the Education Ministry, said we need to start building a curriculum based on talent. And so if you can start with just one school within your constituency, we can grow this sport and protect these girls for a long time.
Okay. An SMS from an athlete, he doesn't want me to mention his name, but he says, it's unfortunate to watch this documentary, Running with Hyenas. I hope Athletics Kenya will act on this, although they seem too soft on the issue. And I want to read a tweet or a quote. It's actually one of the graphics that we can put up by a judge in the matter of this judge was accused of sexual behavior against over 100 of this coach rather, sorry, over 100 minors in United States. His name is Larry Nassar, a former USA gymnastics coach. In January, he was sentenced to between 40 to 175 years for crimes earlier this year. And this is what the judge had to say during the sentencing. The judge said, and I think we can put, sorry, let's put that up. This is what the judge said in the sentencing. It is my honor to sentence you because, now she's talking to Larry Nassar, you do not deserve to walk outside of a prison ever again. Anywhere you walk, destruction would occur to those most vulnerable. I have just signed your death warrant. This is Judge Rosemary Aquilina. Do we need to see something like this in Kenya? Definitely. And that's what I was trying to ask athletics officials.
There needs to be a very strong message sent to all these sexual molesters and sexual predators, because if you keep quiet about the people who have been behind these molestation of young children, and we don't even know, do we even know the names of the ones who have been previously suspended?
Yeah, no. I think you can get that information, but it's not readily available.
Yes. Now,
Okay.
that's another problem. What if these people have been suspended, but we don't know who they are, and they just go and start another camp?
That's a good question.
You
And
know?
you can't keep up with them?
Exactly.
And so you need to
there
find
needs
a
to
way
be a
to lock
very
them up for
yes,
a
there
bit.
needs to be a very strong message sent to all these coaches and managers who are involved in such kind of conduct that you will not get away with it.
Okay. I'll take that as your last word. Citizen TV began by airing this report yesterday. We can assure you we'll not let this matter go. We'll try and push AK. They need to do something about this. They need to let us know the findings of that report to ensure that doesn't happen to another athlete ever again. All right, Sarah Chwada, a sports lawyer, thank you so much for finding time to be here with us.